Hello, this is Sloan Morris, Director of Client Services with Vigilo. This Vigilo video help will provide a detailed walkthrough of the Vigilo CSA Custom Group Scorecard. Overview. We're excited to deliver the industry's first and only CSA Custom Group Scorecard. The Vigilo Custom Group Scorecard allows you to easily see any groupings in your organization, such as district, region, terminal, driver status, or any other group you want, and see how each group is doing in the 7 basics and other key safety metrics. You can tell which groups are significantly above or below average. Even better, if you choose, you can allow different people in your organization to view only those custom groups you want them to see. We'll explain more later in the video. How to activate custom groups. Vigilo customers can simply send us a spreadsheet that lists each driver along with that driver's group information. To read more, click on the gray Carrier and Driver by Custom Group Scorecard icon here. You'll see this screen, which provides detailed information about what we need. Basically, just send us your driver list with group information. Vigilo will set up your custom groups and let you know as soon as they are ready. Once custom groups are set up for your organization, the Carrier and Driver by Custom Group icon here will turn red and is now active. Let's take a look. Top section. Once custom groups have been activated for your site, you will be able to analyze and drill down into your custom groups. In this video, we'll take a tour of the Custom Group Scorecard for a fictional carrier called Tabor Mountain Trucking. Starting from the top, there is a link to view frequently asked questions and a link to view the video training. Next, we see that the current view is all drivers active and inactive. Notice there are 633 drivers. If we change the current view to active drivers only here, we see that there are now only 380 drivers. Both of these views, all drivers or active drivers only, can be useful in analyzing safety within the carrier. Top-level custom groups. With Vigilo custom groups, you can have many different custom groups. In this case, Tabor Mountain has chosen 4 different custom groups. We will look at each of them. The 4 custom groupings are Driver Manager, Driver Type, Region, and Vehicle Type. By default, the first custom group listed is the first one shown, so currently, drivers are grouped by their driver managers. Moving down to the table, notice that the View Groups tab is active. This means we can view the 380 active drivers rolled up into their driver manager group. The first thing you're likely to notice is the 13 different driver managers. They are listed from most points per driver to least points per driver. That's here on the right with the red bars. Viewing the managers based on points per driver allows for an apples-to-apples comparison of managers with different numbers of drivers. So, Scott Lane has the most CSA points per driver with 14.0, while Andy Abernathy looks the best here with only 4 points per driver. Question: does this mean Andy is a better manager than Scott? Well, possibly, but not necessarily. If you are a trucking safety professional, you know there are a lot of reasons why scores and points can vary. Each state enforces the law on their own terms. You might have different vehicle types, multiple lines of business, etc. When a driver manager or some other grouping is significantly higher or lower than others, it should cause you to ask why, and perhaps look more deeply into those numbers. Notice the top row of the table here is the summary row. This tells you the total number of drivers, inspections, violations, and crashes. Where it gets particularly interesting is under the 7 basics here. This 1.9 under unsafe driving represents the average points per driver for the entire carrier under this unsafe driving basic. This means you can easily scan down the column and see who is above or below average. Let's try it. So which manager has the highest points per driver under unsafe driving? The answer? Peter Green with 3.0. That's about 50% higher than the carrier average of 1.9. Which manager has the lowest points per driver? Well, Peter O'Keefe at 0.6 points per driver is pretty low, but Andrew Gunderson is even lower with 0 points per driver, under unsafe driving. How are Andrew's drivers keeping such a low score? Maybe it's worth a conversation to find out. Possibly Andrew could work with Peter Green to help with strategies or analysis to reduce his high unsafe driving numbers. There's a lot of actionable information here, now that you can see CSA data mapped to your organization. You can see the rest of the average points per driver across the other columns. The final 2 columns give you the total CSA points and points per driver for each driver manager. View total points. The current view is great for comparing points per driver, but what if I just wanted to see total points for each group? Where are my points actually coming from? Easy, just click the View Total Points link here. Your scorecard will refresh, and now you'll see each driver manager listed with total CSA points under each basic. We think you'll find both of these views, points per driver and total points, useful in different situations. Drill down. There's more to the custom group scorecard than this initial table view, though. Notice that each group is a clickable link which allows you to drill down to see additional details. I'll click on the first driver manager, Scott Lane. Maybe I can learn what is pushing his scores up. Notice the trail that shows me where I've come from. Driver manager with 380 drivers to where I am now, Scott Lane's group with 29 drivers. I can click on any of these underlined items to take me back to that level. Below are Scott's 29 active drivers listed from most CSA points to least. It appears that Jose Arzabala is causing the most points with one click on Jose's name. You, or Jose's driver manager Scott Lane, could pull up Jose's Vigilo driver scorecard and see exactly what is causing the problem and pursue appropriate action, counseling or additional training, for example. Print and export. Scott may want to print out or export this page of the scorecard. Here's how he would do it for this page, or any scorecard page. To print, simply click the Export button here and choose PDF. Then print the PDF. Export. Click the Export Data link here. This gives you a clean, graphics-free version of your data. Next, click the Export button and choose Excel. Then, simply follow the prompts to open or save your file and open it into a spreadsheet program, such as Microsoft Excel. Driver type. We've explored the Driver Manager custom group. Let's look at a different grouping. Tabor Mountain has also organized their drivers by driver type. Let's click on driver type here to check it out. Notice that clicking a new top-level custom group resets current view to all drivers active and inactive. Here, we are comparing company drivers and owner-operators. According to our fictional data, it appears that company drivers are getting slightly more points per driver overall. See the red bars at the far right. Let's switch views to points per driver to see how they compare on a driver-by-driver basis. Interesting. For Tabor Mountain, it looks like the company drivers are a little worse in all basics except for drug, alcohol, and crash, where they're tied, and cargo, where the owner-operators are a little worse. A lot of fascinating information becomes available when you combine your organization's groups with CSA violation and crash data. Let's look at a different grouping. Region. Let's look at the custom group scorecards by region. This grouping is a bit different because it is a multi-level grouping. We will go from region to division to terminal and finally to driver. Here we go. First, I can see all 3 regions listed. I'm most interested in the central region, so I'll click Central with 228 drivers. That takes me to 4 divisions. I'll click South Central with 75 drivers. South Central has 12 terminals. I'm particularly interested in Terminal 147 at the top here. What's going on with their high unsafe driving and fatigue driving scores? Oh, right, that's just from one driver. Instead, I'll look at Terminal 141 that has 16 drivers. I see. Only the top 8 drivers have any CSA points at all, and some of them are inactive. You can tell because these drivers are faded with a gray background and also because of the word inactive here. Let's clear out the inactive drivers. I'll click Change View to Active Drivers Only here. Aha! Now I can really see which drivers are causing points. This will really help. One last custom group to check out, Vehicle Type. Let's take a look. I'll click here. Here, we can easily compare drivers of different types of vehicles against each other to see how they're doing under CSA on a per-driver basis. Here we have flatbed, dry van, and refrigerated. Do any of these numbers stand out? Well, most of the numbers seem pretty close, except the refrigerated drivers seem to have a much higher score under the driver fitness basic. Maybe this is a good time to review driver fitness rules, such as having your valid medical certificate with you with the refrigerated team. Other custom groups. Well, we've looked at 4 different kinds of custom groups. You can also combine groups, such as view terminals by vehicle type. You can also add or delete custom groups to make the custom group scorecard as useful as possible for your organization. Unassigned drivers. There's one other tab to explore, the Unassigned Drivers tab here. What do we mean by unassigned drivers? Well, drivers can be unassigned for a handful of reasons. A few examples. Perhaps the driver was not assigned to one of the custom groups. Perhaps the FMCSA inspection data lists a driver who is not on your driver list. The bottom line is, if there are any unassigned drivers, the Vigilo administrator for your carrier can help you resolve all unassigned drivers. Administrators, if you have any questions about this, please contact Vigilo support at support@vigilo.com or call 503-688-5100 extension 102. Limited viewing permissions. I haven't said much about one of the best features of custom groups. You can provide limited access to your custom group scorecard to anyone you want. For example, perhaps you want to give each terminal manager the ability to view data for only their terminal. No problem. Your Vigilo administrator can set that up. That wraps up this video help for the Vigilo CSA Custom Group Scorecard.